Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brian Hanley. Welcome back to Steelers Almighty. This is a continuation of our series, My Position by Position. Today, we are discussing the defensive backs, the secondary as a whole, cornerbacks, safeties, and what the Steelers either need, what they plan on doing, what I think they should do, how the season turned out, what guys we should keep, yada, 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 all the good stuff as far as what the Pittsburgh Steelers need to do in the secondary for the 2025 season. All right, now let's get into this. So, the overall grade that I gave to the Pittsburgh Steelers secondary when we did our season in review was a C. I thought for the most part, look, Deshaun Elliott was incredible. I thought Mika Fitzpatrick was less than that. A lot of that, I know it's because of where they have him playing. And there's a reason for that. They don't really trust the cornerbacks, especially on opposite Joey Porter Jr. And they definitely didn't trust, Beanie Bishop. But we'll get into all of that. But overall, I just thought it was a C. I thought it was average play by the secondary. Not enough coverage. A lot of it is schematics. Again, playing a lot of drop zone coverage, stuff like that, that just doesn't necessarily fit the bill for these guys. Either way, average play. But let's get into some of the details on who we should or should not bring back. All right. So first, we got the free agents that are no longer under contract for the Steelers in 2025. First up, cornerback Dante Jackson. We got him in a trade from Carolina. We traded Deontay Johnson for him, and in my opinion, he was just okay. Not anything spectacular. He made a few plays here or there, but more often than not, he was giving up plays. The problem that I see with that is he was just a band-aid on a dam. Just instead of really going out and fixing the problem, the Steelers haven't done that. It's one of the things I think they need to do is truly address the position. Dante Jackson wasn't it. In my opinion, I don't think they should bring him back. If they do, create some real competition. You know, Draft a guy, go get another guy in free agent, but really attack it. But if you were to just pin me down and say, Brian, what would you do? The answer would be no, don't bring back Dante Jackson. Now, next up is DeMonte KZ. Look, KZ's 31. He was the third safety, played a lot as far as the nickel safety. The Steelers were in the nickel a lot this season. And so when they went to three safety looks out of that, DeMonte KZ, he was the guy that came in. I think the Steelers need to get younger in this position. They got Ryan Watts. He was hurt in the preseason. I think he would be ideal for that situation in that position. So if I'm the Steelers, we can move on from KZ. We need to get younger at that position. KZ was fine. I'm not saying he did a bad job, but if we can save some money, get younger, a little bit more athletic at the position, we do so. I think we move on from KZ too. Next up, we got Cam Sutton. Cam Sutton, 29, got released by Detroit Lions. We don't need to go into the situation on why. Steelers bring him back. And to be quite honest, it was a disaster. Cam Sutton was not good with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We brought him back to be the slot corner. They seemed to trust him more than what they did Beanie Bishop because Beanie, he got torched early on. We'll get to him in a second. But by the end of the year, it was the exact opposite. Beanie Bishop should have been seeing more snaps. There is no way that the Steelers need to bring back Cam Sutton. Absolutely no way. No. Got to move on. Next up, we got James Pierre. Now, Pierre is a special teams guy mainly. We saw him in when there were some injuries, having to fill in at cornerback. He's the fourth/fifth corner on the roster for the Steelers. It makes sense to bring him back. Number one, like I mentioned, very good on special teams, but he can be a depth piece when I say a fourth or a fifth guy. Now, do you want him out there being your starting cornerback? Absolutely not. That's not his skill set. But as a depth piece, somebody to keep around. I mean, again, he's not 34, 35 years old. He's 28. Yeah, I think we can bring back James Pierre. It makes sense. Lastly, we got CJ Henderson. He was elevated to the roster. I think it was like October 21st of this year. Never got a helmet, never got on the field. He's a former first rounder, but he served no purpose for the Steelers this year. It's a hard pass for him. Don't need to bring him back in any capacity. Now we're going to go to the guys that are currently under contract. What do the Steelers need to do? And we're going to start off with our man, Mika Fitzpatrick. Now, if you guys have been around, you know I have been very, very hard on Mika Fitzpatrick, um, partly because we're paying him $18 million dollars and we didn't see $18 million dollars worth of production. A lot of that was schematics. Like I mentioned, they didn't trust their corners or maybe their slot corners. So they wanted Mika so far off the ball, they just wanted him to be the last line of defense. Well, I would say if that's your philosophy and you don't trust your corners, then you don't need to pay the safety $18 million dollars to be the last line of defense. You can find somebody else for a lot less money to be the last line of defense. I think Minka's got to take a pay cut. Now, whether the Steelers do this or not is something different. 2 years left. I think you got to go up to Minka Fitzpatrick and say, hey, Minka, you got to take a pay cut, man. We want you. We want to keep you, but we can't pay you $18 million dollars. Um, that's just the end of it. No more, no less. We can't pay you 18 million bucks, Minka. We like you, but doesn't make sense anymore. Now, having said that, if Minka says no, which he's probably going to say no, then what do the Steelers do? Well, you can't cut him because you're going to take too big of a hit for on the salary cap as far as dead money unless you do it post June 1st. If you do, you can save money by doing that. But Minka's still valuable. It's not that Minka can't play. It's just that he can't play paying $18 million dollars for what he gives you. So trading Minka makes sense. People don't want to hear that. But look, there's hard decisions that have to be made on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do we want to have a better roster? And maybe you say, well, come on, Big B, you're going to keep, some of these other safeties, but you're saying get rid of Minka. If Minka takes a pay cut, Minka can play for the Pittsburgh Steelers for the next 3 or 4 years as long as he's productive, but not at $18 million dollars. So what I would do, number one, take a pay cut, Minka. If he says no, you got to trade him. Period. End of story. That's not going to make a lot of people happy, but you know what? This is a business, and it's a production and a production-based business. I need to see some results, what you're doing, and maybe even what he's being asked to do isn't worth $18 million dollars. I'm sorry. We got to make some hard decisions. That's the first one. Next up, we got Deshaun Elliott. Now, Deshaun Elliott had a spectacular year, making $3 million a season. Deshaun Elliott was exactly what we needed in a safety. He can play down in the box. He can cover tight ends. Yeah, he's exactly what we need. Bring him back. And heck, the Steelers don't negotiate during the season, but I wouldn't be mad if the Steelers extended him during this offseason. Say, you know what, this guy, we need him around for a while. He's 27 years old. Give him a 2-year extension. Pay him more money. Yes, I know that's paying defense more money, but at the same time, you can't just ignore defense because we've made previous mistakes paying tons of money to defense. It doesn't mean that you can ignore some of the guys that you have that are good that need to be extended. Deshaun Elliott is one of those people. Absolutely, he needs to be brought back and extended. Next, we got Joey Porter Jr. Look, I've been hard on him too. I like Joey Porter Jr. I think he's a good cover corner. A lot of people thought that he was going to be a lockdown corner this year. Well, that was not the case. The good things about JPJ, he took a big step forward in tackling from year 1 to year 2. That was not his forte. It's not even his forte now as far as tackling. But to watch him as a rookie versus a second-year guy, he was at least a willing tackler this year, made tackles with shoulders and some want to, where previously it was just kind of, if the guy's here, hopefully he'll go down with arm tackles. That wasn't the case this year. I was proud of him, but the penalties, you got to stop holding. Got to learn to cut off routes. I think a lot of it is more film study. He's got the tools. He's just got to trust himself more. Just trust what you see. Don't panic. Don't grab. Be in position. And every now and then, a guy's going to catch a pass on you. It just happens. You can't shut everybody down. And I think he gets into his own head a lot of times thinking, nobody can catch a pass. I have to grab him. Well, don't do that. Just be there. Every now and then, a guy will make a play. But you know what? If you're in position more often than not, you could make the play. So still got work to do, but Joey Porter Jr. needs to be a Pittsburgh Steeler for a long, long time, people. Next, we got Beanie Bishop. Look, I was proud of Beanie Bishop there. I wanted him to make the team, and he did. But then they attacked him early. Teams just said, we are going directly after Beanie Bishop. It magnified itself. It, to me, anyway, was the Dallas game was the ugliest one. Just, didn't look good at all. And even Mike Tomlin came out, hey, that's life in the NFL. Well, that's not really what you want to hear, but he's right. You got to get better. And he got better. You know, he made some opportunistic interceptions. The best play that I think he made, heck, the best play I think a secondary guy made all year was that pass over the middle that he intercepted one-handed against the Jets. I thought that was an incredible play. But Beanie Bishop got better. For some reason, they took him off the field. Once Cam Sutton came back, his reps got cut, which you figured that was going to happen. But when Cam Sutton was struggling, Beanie Bishop never got back on the field, and not near enough. I thought that was a huge mistake. You saw Cam Sutton just couldn't get it done, and when he wasn't getting it done, put somebody else in there. But that didn't happen. I think Beanie Bishop, obviously, he needs to be back. He's got to get better. Let's not kid ourselves. He's got to get better, but he can help the Steelers next year if he continues to progress. And last, we got Miles Killebrew. Now, this one's tricky because Miles Killebrew is a special teams ace. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. 32 years old, but he's not a good safety. If Miles Killebrew's in the game playing safety for you, a lot of guys got hurt, and that's a problem. But he's also making $4.2 million. Now, in the grand scheme of things, for as long as he's been in the league, okay, I understand, but there's got to be a way that we can pay a special teams guys less money than $4.2 million that can't help you on defense. That's a lot of money for a guy that's not putting points on the board in any capacity. That's not what he does. Does he need to be around? Of course. Absolutely, he needs to continue to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. But you need to ask him, hey, we want you here, but you have to take a pay cut. We can't pay you $4.2 million anymore. We want to pay you, but not near that much money. As far as some of the free agents that are out there, I mean, we've heard the names: DJ Reed, Carlton Davis, Asante Samuel Jr., even a Cameron Bynum as a safety. There are plenty of guys that are available that are out there. This is where I think the Steelers need to make their hay as far as cornerback. Again, I get it. We're spending money on defense. But like I mentioned before, we've put a Band-Aid over a leak in a dam to just try to get by. The days of just trying to get by have to be over with. If the defense wants to be as good as what it was perceived to be, you have to have good corners. Nobody has a good defense with lackadaisical or average corners. That's not the case. So the Steelers need to upgrade. So unfortunately, yes, they need to put some resources at the cornerback position in free agency. That's what they need to do. Now, do they also need to attack it with the draft? Absolutely. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But free agency is where they can make their hay. And free agency means overpaying. So are we going to overpay for a guy if we bring him in? Probably. Should that be something that the Steelers should do to address the cornerback position? 100%. Safeties is a different story because we have safeties, and unless we trade Minka, he's not going anywhere. So you can bring in a depth piece, but you don't have to, overspend to bring that in. But as far as cornerback, I think the Steelers got to pony up the dough and bring somebody in. So who do you want, Big B? There's a lot of guys out there. Who would you suggest? Well, look, the Steelers got to open up the checkbook to bring in a solid cornerback. Like I mentioned, we can't just keep bringing in Patrick Peterson and Dante Jackson for one-year wonders, especially with their average to below average play. It's not helping us. So, they got to open up the checkbook. They got to bring somebody in. And my wish list, look, I'm going right to the top. DJ Reed, Carlton Davis. Oh, see what they will do. Who's to say that we can't get one of those guys? And again, I know people will be upset that we spent money in the offseason on defense, but it's a team. We need to spend $160 million on defense? No. But you can't have a good team, or you can't have a good or championship defense, like people want to say, with below to average corners. It just doesn't work. Pay the guys, bring them in, solve the problem versus just trying to put a Band-Aid on a knife wound. Now, as far as the draft is concerned, I mean, look, we know the studs: Travis Hunter, Will Johnson, Benjamin Morrison. I mean, those are the stud draft picks, but they're not going to be around unless, I mean, maybe Morrison might be around, but they won't be around for the most part, those guys, when the Steelers pick in the first round. So no chance to grab any of those top studs. Now, who they do have an opportunity to take, guys like Quincy Riley out of Louisville, Mello Dotson. Mello Dotson doesn't get the pub of a Kobe Bryant. They both played at Kansas, but Kobe Bryant, that's a name. People are going to know that. Not that he isn't good. Mello Dotson, in my opinion, is better, but more importantly, he's bigger and just as fast. So I would like him. He's a guy that would be out there. Maxwell Hairston. Look, there's guys that are going to be around when the Steelers need to pick. Now, should they wait forever to address the cornerback need? And when I mean forever, like fifth round, no. I think you got to try to address it early. That's why free agency at other positions is going to be so important, because if you can solve some of those problems in free agency, then you can step up. Oh, you know what? We can take a cornerback earlier. You know, we can do some of these things that they need to do to solidify this defense. And I think that's a big part of this. So Quincy Riley, for me, that's who I would go. Now, can you get him in the third round? Can you get him in the fourth round? He'll be around in the third, but again, it's really going to depend on what's happened in free agency and what's happened in the draft previous to that. Because if you can't address some of the offensive needs, then you can't take a corner in the third round. I'm sorry, you got to wait. So will he be there? Dotson, I believe, will be around in the fourth round. That's somebody that the Steelers should really take a look at. Hairston will be around at that time too. So if we can get any of those guys in the fourth round, I think you're doing yourself a service. Those are guys that can come in and can contribute. You know, we're not looking at third or fourth round guys as guys that are going to take 3 years to be able to play. No, they should be able to come in and play right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers and contribute in the 2025 season. So that's what I got for you guys as far as the defensive secondary. Look, tough decisions are going to have to be made. I know a lot of you aren't going to like what I said about Minka, but it's just the truth. $18 million, man, to do what he's doing, that's just too much money. We've got to be able to figure that out. And not to mention, we got to have the money spread out over several different positions. If we're being honest, safety is not the position in the hierarchy of a football team that should be taking up that type of money. It's just not. We love Minka, played at an all-pro level for a long time. He's not there right now. We can't be forced to pay that kind of money, or at least we shouldn't. So make sure you guys check out the rest of my position by position. We'll have these for the rest of the defense. Offense will be coming out soon. We appreciate you guys, man. Remember to like, follow, subscribe. Definitely getting those comments, and always hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Steelers Almighty content comes out. We'll see you soon. Aloha.